This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
On this episode of Discover the Upper Cumberland, we explore Ozone Falls, learn an ancient process of making fabric with Breanna Kincaid, learn more about the Cookeville Escape, and discover historical treasures in the Overton County Heritage Museum. So come along, and together we'll discover the Upper Cumberland. Welcome to Discover the Upper Cumberland. We're so excited to bring you more stories about interesting people and places throughout the Upper Cumberland. I'm Celeste Flatt-Bennett, and I am honored to be your guide on this adventure. There are hidden gems all across the Upper Cumberland, and one of those gems is Ozone Falls. You may have driven right past it and not even realized, but if you take the time to stop and explore, you will be rewarded with incredible views and the soothing sounds of the cascading waters of Fall Creek.
We're at Ozone Falls State Natural Area, just outside of Crossville, located in Crab Orchard, Tennessee, just a couple miles off Interstate 40. In the 1800s, Ozone Falls consisted of grist mills and sawmills. Flood of spring in 1900, the last grist mill was washed over the falls, and that's actually when Ozone got its name officially. The community became Ozone, and it was also Ozone Falls at that point, officially. In 1860, Daniel McNair, he built the first grist sawmill, and it was named McNair Falls. Ozone Falls is a 110-foot waterfall that plunges over a sandstone rock cap up above. Its water flows from a creek called Fall Creek, not to be confused with Fall Creek Falls State Park. It disappears underground and reemerges several hundred feet downstream. The rock cap in which Ozone Falls comes over forms an amazing rock amphitheater underneath. That's created from wind, water, freezing and thawing over time, and erosion, so it creates that whole amphitheater behind the falls. Cool fact, takes 3 seconds from the water as it flows over the top to reach the bottom. It's a pretty interesting fact. The best time to see this waterfall is pretty much year-round. It's got a pretty steady flow of water all the time. After a good rain, it really plunges tons of water over, so it can be kind of dangerous, super slick after a hard rain, but beautiful any time of the year. All seasons, I've been down here every season, and it's a pretty amazing place. Summertime, the pool at the bottom, a lot of people like to swim in. It can be roughly around 3 feet deep at the most when it's the driest part of the season, but then it can get up to over your waist as well. Summertime's the most populated time of year. When you come here, the parking lot is always full. So if you're really wanting to enjoy the area and relax and just take it all in, spring and fall are probably the best times to come and visit. If you're looking for a more touristy time of year, definitely summertime. Super crowded. Hiking at Ozone is fairly short, but can be strenuous. The top of the falls is fairly easy hiking with a short 100-yard walk from the parking lot. You can see the top of the falls. To get to the bottom of it, it's a little bit more of a strenuous hike because you're coming down steep terrain. You're having to climb over a few boulders and large rocks. From top to bottom, it's roughly a little over 1/4 of a mile, almost 3/4 of a mile round trip if you did the whole thing. Ozone Falls is easily accessible from the interstate. You get off the exit 329 in Crab Orchard, take 70 east, and you are roughly 3 miles from the waterfalls from the interstate. You drive right by it on Highway 70. So we'd like to invite you out to see Ozone Falls. It's definitely something to see. Keep in mind while you're here, it is a natural area, and that means there's no railings and there's high bluffs. Just be aware of your surroundings, enjoy the area, and take it all in.
Breanna Kincaid became fascinated with the process of felting and has created incredible works of art through this ancient process of forming a fabric that is older than weaving or knitting. She enjoys using her talents to create bright, fun works of art that people can wear.
I think the reason that I'm so interested in felting is because it's so connected to ancient processes. It's the first way of making fabric, and I find that very interesting and intriguing. And I think we're all connected to things that happened long ago, and if we can tap into that connection, we're lucky. So I feel that felting, it was the first way of making fabric, and I've always been involved in fabric. It's been a part of my family history and my family's life. Everybody sewed, and I learned to sew at a young age, and it was just a big part of normal activity in our home. So I think fabric was a natural medium for me to choose, and fibers felt even more natural. So when I started working with wool, it just felt like a medium and a textile that I could stick with forever. I just tried all the other mediums out and knew pretty much right away that textiles was the one for me. It's more, for me, instant gratification. Even though most textile processes can be long and drawn out, it's the enjoyment for me felt very at home and very natural. When I'm working in the studio, I definitely feel this need to continue working on a piece, and it might be a piece that I might not finish for a while, but there's a connection to it, and there's a connection to process. So felting for me is a process that can sometimes go very slow, sometimes it can quickly happen, but it's often a space, mentally I get into a space that keeps me going and keeps me flowing with ideas. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to make next. And part of the process of being an artist is you just got to keep making. And I found that true. I learned that in art school from my professor, Jean Brady, and she said, it doesn't matter what you make, just continue making something. So that seems to be the process, continues to come out the more you work. I make mostly a lot of hats right now, and I do love to make hats. You'd be surprised how many people buy hats that are handmade, especially in my price range, which they're not cheap because they take a long time to make, and wool has become more expensive, just like every other commodity. And so what I do is I start out with a pattern, a two-dimensional pattern I've created. It's out of fabric, kind of a heavy canvas pattern, and I layer wool going in opposite directions. So it is similar to a warp and a weft on a weaving, except I'm just laying the wool, unspun wool, layer upon layer upon layer, and then wetting it with soap and water. And the soap and water just kind of helps the fibers connect a little better. It changes their pH and it allows them to tangle. And so once I wet them, I then start rolling the hat or rolling the pattern with the wool around it and rubbing it and rolling it and rubbing it. And then I'll eventually take the pattern out of this two-dimensional into three-dimensional shape, and I'll beat the wool on the ground. And so it's basically, fabric is made in the felting process through agitation. So it's made by pressure and rubbing and rolling and manipulating those fibers to form a connection with one another. So it's really the most basic ancient way of making fabric. My work is very whimsical and fun, I think, and people laugh a lot when they come see my work. They'll try on hats and different wearable sculptures that I make. I feel that I think I need children, their inspiration, to make my work more inspirational. So I have kids myself. I'm a mother of 3, and they inspire me and always have. Just their love for imagination and playful, that really inspires my work to be what it is. I want my work to be playful. I want it to be something that people look at and find joy out of. And so in the classroom, I'm often amazed and inspired by what my students create. We don't do a lot of felting, but we do a lot of art, history-based learning, and just when I see how playful they are with their work, that inspires me to keep that sense of playfulness, joyfulness that children seem to have so naturally. We lose that as we get older, and so being in the classroom brings me back to that spot, and being around children is a good way to get back to that place. So I think that inspires my work as well as helps me be a better teacher.
If you've ever lost your keys and had to come up with creative ways to get into your house, then you might have what it takes to break out of a room at the Cookeville Escape. We had the opportunity to find out more about what draws people to the fun and excitement of deciphering intricate clues to escape a locked room.
We are here today at the Cookeville Escape with Evan Stafford, and he is going to tell us all about the amazing things that they have going on here at Cookeville Escape. How are you, Evan?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great today. Tell us what you've got for us here at the Cookeville Escape.
Well, what we do is it's 3 games. Escape games and kind of breakout games have kind of gained in popularity over the years, and about a year and 3 or 4 months ago we decided to bring one of them to here, to Cookeville and everything, to this Upper Cumberland area. And what it is we just lock you in a room for an hour. It kind of sounds a little bit weird and everything, but our rooms are super large, plenty of rooms, so nobody gets claustrophobic and stuff like that. But we lock you in the room, and you, through puzzles and all kinds of different problem solving stuff, you figure your way out. So it's pretty cool. It's really exciting, and it's a fun time for everyone.
Now, we've talked about the rooms, and when they come in and start their game, they do get locked in the rooms.
Right.
But you guys are on standby, you're watching the whole thing, so tell us how that works if somebody's a little unnerved about that.
Okay. So we got cameras throughout all of our rooms. We listen, we watch. It's kind of a Big Brother-esque situation there. But we watch, and that's how we give you your clues at the same time. So if someone does start to freak out, or just kind of have a panic attack, or maybe they have to even just use the restroom simply, then we come and we open the door for them and everything. If it is an emergency or anything like that, say, heaven forbid the building starts to catch on fire.
Right.
We have emergency releases, and you're not actually trapped inside this room. It's nothing like that. It's more for the story and everything.
Right. So everybody's watching and everybody's safe, and you just
and we get to
come
laugh
and have
at
a
you.
really good time.
Exactly. We point fingers and say, "Oh, that person, how in the world did they get in that situation?" And
Right.
yeah, everything. So it's pretty cool.
You can do this in groups or one-on-one, or how does that work?
It actually can do both and everything. We like one-on-one, just one person and everything, because it's fun for us because we get to see how smart someone is and they get to challenge themselves. But then when you get a group of people together and start trying to problem solve, you kind of see who the people that want to take control are, and then the people who, the wives and husbands, that kind of bicker at each other and do it my way, and the husbands do it my way. And so it's really it can a wide array of things.
So is it as much fun for you guys to watch as it is for
Oh,
them?
absolutely.
Entertaining.
Absolutely.
All right. What about school groups or large groups? Tell me what you've got going on there.
Right, so we love large groups of any kind and everything, but we really enjoy doing like schools, all the way from elementary school kids to high school kids. One of the coolest things that we've done is very recently is we hosted 5 days for Jackson County to come and visit with us, and what happened was we implemented some educational tools for this grant that they got and everything. We implemented some educational tools throughout each of our games when they came and played.
Wonderful.
Escape games in general are so much more than just the fun and the
Right.
it is fun, but we also have the educational aspect of it and everything, where it teaches skills. And
Right.
everything.
So they get to learn
Absolutely.
and really don't even are not even aware that they're learning while they're enjoying themselves with a group, with their classmates.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Whose idea was it to start Cookeville Escape? I know it's a family-owned business.
Right. Yeah.
So how did it come about?
We were actually down in Destin on vacation, and I've done a whole lot of random stuff and everything, and me and my dad were talking, and we were like, what's our next adventure? Right. And we love playing them. Me and my wife, we kind of plan trips around, where exactly good games are, so we can kind of go and vacation there. And we, play them all the time, and we were real interested and kind of looked at the numbers and everything and thought, this is great for Cookeville. We have a lot of great things here in Cookeville, but why not try to add to it?
Right, help it grow. I have not been here myself to go through the games, but I have some coworkers and some friends who have, and they love it.
Awesome.
They say it is fantastic. They've had a really good time and come back. So it must be a really big hit around the area.
Well, I hope so.
Now, we don't want to give away too much information because we want them to come and enjoy it, but tell us about the rooms. Tell us what the goals are and how it works.
So the one we're standing in is called Entry. The theme behind it is your off-the-books covert FBI team and everything, kind of like a task force. We have Sea Dog, which is based in the 1500s. It's Sir Francis Drake. He was a big privateer for Queen Elizabeth, and they were in a big battle and all this stuff, and you're a part of a team that committed a mutiny, and the ship is sinking, and you gotta figure your way off the ship and everything.
Who comes up with all the clues and all the themes?
Right, so Intrigue and Spectrum, we actually bought and everything. They were the first 2 games that we bought, and then Sea Dog, as time went on and I got more used to how instead of just playing, but creating and everything. Sea Dog was actually kind of a collaboration of a few different people here and everything, through a lot of tests and everything, but we created Sea Dog, and actually super proud of it just because it's done fairly well for being our first,
creation,
yeah,
original
exactly.
idea. Awesome,
Exactly.
fantastic. Thank you so much for letting us come over and invade your space
Yeah, that's
and
all right.
tell us about the Cookeville Escape.
Each county in the Upper Cumberland has interesting bits and pieces of history that most residents are not even aware of. This is also true for Overton County, Tennessee. With many people and events in history that have helped shape our country, the Overton County Heritage Museum is excited to welcome visitors to explore the rich history their area has to offer and just see how some of their residents have had an impact on our nation.
always loved the history of the county. I'm a lifelong resident here, and if our generation does not preserve it, it's going to be lost, because the older generation is the one that collected the things. And I think it's important to know where you came from to know where you're going. I just think the history of the county is important. This is the old Overton County Jail, and we worked for 3 years. Dr. Michael Birdwell was working with us at that time, and he said, I think you ought to open with whatever you have. So we just hurried up in about a week's time, and we just opened up with a kind of a soft opening with just a little bit of stuff up front. I can look back from where we are now to where we were 13, 14 years ago. It was very primitive, but we were so proud of what we had done. It's a long road from where we started. We have no money to buy anything, so it's all donated, and it's amazing what we do have. We have visitors from all over the United States, and people from other museums, even big museums, when they come here, and they're amazed at they say the stuff that we have, because we have a variety of things. That some of it's on temporary loan, which we may have for years to come, and may stay with us forever if their children don't claim it after they're gone or whatever. But most of it is donated to the museum, and it's up to us to archive it, take care of it. And throughout the museum, things are changing. You get new items that you can add to, or just move everything around. It makes it fresh, and so you have repeat visitors. They don't want to come back and see the same thing over and over again. We try to collect as many of the pictures of the old one-teacher schools in the county. I think at one time, Overton County had 134 schools. You had to have a school within walking distance of every child. So we've got a large notebook that has school pictures from all these old county schools that's long gone in the different communities. We have one display that's Mr. Ira Speck that owns Speck Funeral Home. We have his portable embalming equipment. The table folds up just like a suitcase, and he would take it to people's homes and do the embalming. Some people are interested in that. Some people, that just grosses them out. They don't want anything to do with it. World War II, we have the uniform of one man that was a prisoner of war for a long time. He was thought to be dead, and he just walked up his driveway one day. He made it back. And the other guy was a prisoner also for a long time, and we have pictures and some things on him. And we have the pictures of the Gold Star boys from World War II. We recently had a special exhibit on World War I to coincide with the 100th year anniversary of the ending of World War I. The first American killed in Vietnam was Tom Davis, who was from here in the county. And we have several of his articles that he used while he was over there, and pictures of him when he was in Vietnam, and the funeral pall that came back on his casket. It was made by the Vietnamese people. It's glass beads and wire. To me, it's a beautiful piece. It's huge. It's on loan from the Tennessee State Museum. There's 4 people in Overton County that work in and with the space programs. Michael McCulley, that grew up here in Livingston, was an astronaut. He was the commander of the shuttle Atlantis, and he has a houseboat here on the lake, so he's here 2 or 3 times a year, and he drops in at the museum. And but we have a lot of his stuff, and stuff on the other 3 people that worked in the space program. An art teacher in the county, the old Ritz Theater that used to be on the square in Livingston, she's painted it on the wall back there. It opened sometime in the late 30s, and it burned in the 1960s. That was our entertainment when we were teenagers. We also have a good variety of local histories, of county histories, family histories, church, cemetery histories, communities, all written by local authors. And that help support our museum. We're not supported by city or county really. It's all volunteers that keep it open. If groups, senior groups, church groups, school groups, anybody that want to come and visit the museum, we'd love to have you, and we're always looking for volunteers.
Thank you for exploring the Upper Cumberland with us. For more information on this show, visit our website, WCTE.org/discover. If you have any story ideas you think we should feature, email us at discover@wcte.org. I'll see you next time, and together we'll discover the Upper Cumberland.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.